for this title. And he's got to go to Middlesbrough and get something. And I'll tell you, honestly, I will love it if we beat them.
Yes, everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Warm Down. Today joined by Laurie from The Athletic, who it's brought to you by, which is the new home of football writing. And a lot of people are genuinely getting stuck into it. Another new United reporter recruited in Daniel Taylor.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see when he gets stuck into stuff properly. If you'd like to get a month's free trial and 50% off your yearly subscription, then use the link in the description below, and that's Howson.co. Actually, no, it's not. It's theathletic.co.uk/Howson. That's a month's free trial and 50% off your yearly subscription, so you can get it for £2.50. You'd be stupid not to. You got the likes of Laurie on there. You've got Andy Mitten. You've also got Daniel Taylor, and also some pretty good ones that are fairly neutral, or maybe not so neutral, that are in the mix too. So, Laurie, what's going on at United? You've been at Carrington today?
Yeah, was at Carrington. Ollie did his media duties, obviously, as he does before every Premier League game. Struck a bit of a defiant tone, similar to, I suppose, what Ed Woodward was saying to staff in terms of the long-term vision, re-emphasising we knew we were going to have some short-term pain to get the long-term gain. So you've got to kind of take him at his word at that. And listen, I have sort of real questions about why there wasn't more signings in the summer. I do think they could have made more signings. Yeah, exactly. I'm not really going out on a limb there, am I saying that? But it just seems that I think clearly Solskjaer would have wanted at least one more striker. They were obviously close to one, but he was kind of in a bit of defiant mood. But again, the injuries thing was just sort of still, like stalking the place. Who's actually going to be fit? Who's out? It sort of makes such a difference, doesn't it, to the team that could play on Sunday against Liverpool?
And he also had a bit of a defiant tone, which might have been something to do with something you wrote.
Oh, no, well, he kind of was agreeing with it. It was, listen, I don't know exactly if he'd read it or whatnot. I think the club were aware of it. A piece I wrote about the injuries where basically I look back and obviously Jurgen Klopp in his first season got a load of hamstring injuries in the January it was, so I think he'd come in the October. So he basically went in there and said, listen, this is how I want my team to play, so therefore they need to train this way, really hard, really intense, a lot of mileage at fast pace, and then obviously some players sort of broke down. And I kind of just wondered whether something similar could be going on at United, where obviously you don't want players to get injured, but perhaps that's a natural byproduct of actually trying to build the resilience, build the robustness, which is something Solskjaer has sort of mentioned quite a lot. Went away, did a bit of research, spoke to a few people, spoke to a guy that had this kind of development at his club, and he said, yeah, you have to go through the pain to get the gain out the other side. And he said that he had sort of examples of players that just couldn't do it, like, so their bodies just aren't like equipped to kind of play that kind of way. It's not mean that they're bad footballers or they're not trying, it's just that they physically couldn't do it, so they get sold. Obviously recruitment's massive, and obviously Jurgen Klopp's had good windows after good windows with a good structure around him to bring in the players that he wants, and then also some players do adapt, so it just takes maybe they do get like a little hamstring tweak, a little calf tweak or whatever, and eventually the body gets used to it, and that's how it goes with that kind of sort of, they call it overloading, is this sort of the practice, push them, see how far they can go. And then once they do sort of break a little bit, fix them, and then, okay, the parameters then. Whereas if you don't push them, if you sort of say, okay, let's just recover, play the match at the weekend, you never know. You're never quite sure if they can play this kind of way. So I just sort of thought that was an interesting topic. And he seemed to sort of agree, I think, with it. As I said, I don't know if he actually read it or not, but he mentioned the Klopp injuries in his press conference. And so it seems like, obviously he's made changes to the backroom staff with Ed Lang and Mike Clegg coming in, so he's obviously aware of that as an issue that he wants to. Yeah, you got the shirt.
It's Clegg's.
Is it?
It's actually
did he actually wear that?
Clegg's shirt.
Wow.
He keeps saying he's going to come and get it, but he obviously hasn't.
He's got these injuries to sort out.
So. Actual journalism. Laurie's there going and speaking to the source of people and creating stories on the back of it, which is one thing that I do really appreciate with The Athletic. It's not parroting some shit that other people have gone out and got, or quotes that other people have got, or just reporting on press conferences. You're like, we all watched it. Like, what the fucking are you doing? So I do appreciate that sort of work. And I actually spoke to McKenna on the tour, and I said, because I had my skepticism about how feasible this is to just totally just switch up a squad. And I said, how possible is it to be able to get a squad to adapt to this style of play in one pre-season? Because I look at pre-season and I go, hang about, you've got X number of sessions and it ain't many. Then you fly out, there's commercial responsibilities, there's matches, there's recovery from matches, there's tactics you have to implement. Can you actually take a squad and put this high press sort of high intensity system into them? And McKenna went, no. He said, you can get the mentality into them, but the physiological changes take a lot longer. And I was like, so even after people are going, we've had a pre-season, why aren't we doing it? Because this shit just takes time. And I think it's frustrating at the moment because you're not looking at United and going, I know they want to play.
Yeah.
You're looking at United and going, I haven't got a fucking clue what we're trying to achieve at the moment. We've pressed all right in some games, but it's not 90 minutes, it's not consistently, and it's not as a team. So you can't even just say we're all about a counter press. But that is one aspect, at least, that you can explain. This is going to take a little bit longer, I think.
No, spot on. Yeah, spot on. I mean, again, people I spoke to said, no, it takes more than that. One pre-season, as you say, 7 weeks as a kind of trial. Is that really going to build the rope?
Not even that, is it?
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. You've got all the extra stuff going on, and then you're into the season, and they've got Europa League, they've got League Cup. You do have to have some recuperation. You can't just drill them. That's why I think the recruitment should have been better in the sense of just a couple more bodies that would suit this style of play. I know it's difficult. United, when they come calling, the extra zeros get added on. But 3 players, and obviously 2 of them are defensive, so not necessarily Wan-Bissaka, it seems like, is sort of ready-made. I know he's had a few little tweaks. I think that's something...
It's even injury at the moment. He's got tonsillitis.
Yeah.
It's not an injury.
Yeah, you can't...
He's not pulled his tonsillitis, has he?
Can't factor that in. That sprint down the line. So, yeah, totally. And obviously James has been fit pretty much the whole season. I know there was a bit of a doubt on them before the West Ham game, but...
he plays 100% as well.
Yeah.
If anyone was going to pull something, that little dickhead was going to be pulling something. So, and I think that it's not just that the recruitment wasn't good in terms of quality. The recruitment just wasn't there. Because if we had more depth, then the likes of Rashford, who definitely look burnt out at the moment, the likes of Martial, who's picked up a knock, the likes of Pogba, who probably got brought back too quick, and even Jesse Lingard getting brought back too quick last year or last season. That doesn't happen if you've just got extra bodies you can play. I tried to predict my 11 for this game at weekend, and I was like, I don't know what's going to play. Like, I can't figure out how we win this game here. If we just had depth, then it's easier to adapt some players and it's easier to rest those players if they are given 100% in the match. Well, do you know what? Maybe I can throw, if we had a Mandzukic or someone, I'd give him half an hour and I'll take Rashford off. And that's helping you next week, which means the quality level next week goes up because you actually got a sub and you're not going, anyone? Which is what we appear to be doing at the moment.
Well, you look at that Newcastle game and to be sending on Mason Greenwood and Tahith Chong as to actually try and win you or get a point or do something significant is just, I don't know, it's not the right situation, is it, to put them in? Obviously, we've got high hopes for Mason Greenwood, but I don't think anyone would have said this is what we need to be doing to get him.
As soon as you turn 18, mate, we're going to be putting you in and asking you to win matches for us.
Yeah, exactly.
No, like when you look at how youngsters are blooded, very rarely, and Mason's actually one of the ones where there looks like there's a plan to blood him in.
Yeah.
A lot of youngsters only get their opportunities on the back of injuries, which is where Brandon Williams hopefully actually continues to get brought in. He came in the Rochdale game very last minute.
Yeah.
That didn't feel very planned. Then he get a start against Astana away, and you go, oh, he was very capable in that game. Then he finds himself on the bench. That's come from nowhere, and that's come on the back of a thin squad and loads of injuries. But Mason seems to be almost planned and almost managed, apart from, yes, the goal winners a game side of it, but the fact that he's getting minutes does feel very to a script almost.
Well, yeah, I think actually probably Solskjaer's held him back from what fans might have been calling for, as soon as he scores his goals against Astana and Rochdale. People like, start him. Actually, Ollie's gone, no, I need to protect him a little bit. So I think he's done quite well, as you say, in that situation. I suppose it's just, if you're away at Newcastle and you're trying to get a point, you want more people than those two coming off the bench to do it, and that's no down on them at all. They're good players, young players. Yeah, I mean, I think, and obviously Solskjaer said, didn't he, about Rashford, ideally, I think yesterday, wasn't it, I would have taken him out the firing line a little bit, just give him a bit of a rest, because sometimes it's mental as well, isn't it, as much as physical, that kind of all focus on you to pressure to score is quite significant. So, yeah, it's not. I look at the team for Sunday, and if the injuries are as we think, if it's the worst case scenario with the injuries, the team sort of picks itself, and not really in a good way. Like, it's basically who can we actually put on the pitch there, which is crazy, really, to have got to that stage. Albeit, I totally accept what Solskjaer's saying about needing the sort of culture changing around the place. And when you see him, it's rare that you get a manager that is actually very approachable and you can understand clearly he's got the club massively at heart. So I don't ever want to take that away from him, but you kind of think you need results on the pitch as well to sustain that, because if you don't get the results, then the people stop losing faith in what you're trying to do, and then it unravels.
Yeah, especially if the dressing room loses faith. I think that's when the writing's on the wall. And I think that's what happened with Jose very, very clearly.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that's happening here.
No,
I just think the
so.
quality of the team is levels below. But I think there's also lots that Ollie's culpable for. And when I see us persisting with 4-2-3-1, I go, I don't think this suits this group of players. I don't think this suits what you're trying to achieve as a manager, because I know that he almost wants to do what Pep Guardiola does, like a lighter, bit slightly more direct version of. He wants to play out from the back, he wants to move it through the midfield, he wants to sort of play a bit like that. But he also has that counter-attacking side, which was very effective towards the start of his reign. So when I look at what he's putting out, I go, that doesn't line up with what I thought your philosophy and your style of play was. Now, I know he was very fluid with his formations at Mulder, which makes it weird that he's been so rigid in the Premier League this season, well, in fact, every competition, with 4-2-3-1, which clearly isn't creating enough, clearly isn't protecting the defence enough. So why the hell are we playing it?
He said after the Newcastle game, he basically said for the first time, maybe I'll change it, sort of open that up as a discussion, but then fairly quickly also said, well, it's only been 8 games, so actually it's not a massive pool to sample from.
It actually isn't. It's actually started.
Yeah, true.
After the PSG game, he went to 4-2-3-1.
Fair enough. Well, there we go. So I suppose maybe he sort of decides, right, at the start of the season, that's where I'm taking my sample from. But I totally take your point. I don't necessarily advocate what he was saying in that sense, but he was at least opening up the conversation, to change systems a little bit.
I mean, this weekend's been a perfect time to do it as well. You've got literally nothing to lose. Everyone's expecting you to get pounced anyway this week, so try something different, shock the world, and maybe get a bit of confidence in you as a manager and some faith back from the players.
I would have thought, I would like to see a 4-3-3 with Pogba there, and then you've got him, in that sort of hark back to that Juventus team that's where he felt like he was doing his best work.
Yes, because McTominay playing the Pirlo role.
Well, I would have said,
and Fred in the Vidal role.
Well, that's it. I suppose have we got the personnel for that? But
do you know what? On paper, it's the same. There's no difference. I don't think it's just like prime Pirlo.
Well, I would have said actually though McTominay would be the on the right side. You've got a third person as the holder.
As yet undefined player that we haven't got.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there we go. Yeah. Okay, so scrap that.
Bring Carrick on to play the Pirlo role. I don't think we could do a lot worse, to be honest. He's probably about as quick as Matic is. So we haven't lost anything there, have we?
It was pretty painful at Newcastle actually. The sort of the stages that they went through to get the ball up the pitch. Mata, he's obviously a really talented technical player, just didn't seem to have the courage of to make those kind of passes. Michael Cox actually done a really interesting piece on our website about that, where it's sort of Maguire was the one doing the passes through the lines more than you'd expect. And obviously Fred, I tried to sort of get a bit behind Fred at the start of the season after he came in against Leicester and sort of said, actually maybe he can do something, a bit of dynamism. I'm just not seeing anything like the control. Where the first touch, like the actual passing ability, where is it? I don't get it.
I don't know where it's gone. There was loads of flashes of real, and do you know what? There's so many players that are in this category as well, like Pereira.
Yeah.
Pereira reminds me a lot of what Nani was, but do you know what? I was so harsh on Nani when I look back through. Now I'd kill for him. That age of Nani that we had right now,
2010-11.
When I look at Pereira, like Nani, you go. Physically he's fine. He's pretty quick. His dribbling's fantastic. He can go on either foot. He can go round a boy. He's got a cross on him. He's got a long, decent shot on him. But he's got the decision making of a puppy. What does he? He has more shots a game than any of our forwards, and some of them from outrageous positions. That was never going in, was it? But one of them flies in 10. And it's a worldie, and everyone forgets the 9 that he's just blasted into tier 2.
Yeah. His crossing ability has surprised me this season. I didn't really know he had that in him. It seems like pretty accurate and whipped in. You know, obviously the one at West Ham, was it Mata? Yeah, Mata should have scored that one. And obviously the goal against Chelsea for Martial. So that clearly is a really productive weapon. And obviously the dribble against Arsenal was a great little moment. But I'm still not sure what his best position is, like where he's sort of playing on right wing, but
we've played him in the 6, we played him in the 8, we played him in the 10.
What is he?
I don't know. But he's been very effective as a sort of a left inside forward for United in the past and for Brazil. In the past, like I can see him on the right because he can go to the byline and whip a cross in. I think maybe he needs more instruction and like maybe it's a defined role. Learn this role. We ain't got a right winger. Make it yours.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. You know, go round a guy and put a cross in. And it's not always about that Beckham whip, you know, into a prime Dwight York. Because guess what? We ain't got either. So maybe it's sometimes like, who was it? Was it Astana? Was it Astana Mason missed that he had a decent attempt from?
He had a couple against Astana, yeah. No, Mason put it in for Pogba, and Pogba missed.
No, it wasn't that one. It was, I think it was Wan-Bissaka played, it might have been Pereira, who pulled one back to just the front of the 6-yard box, and Mason hit it either straight at the defender or straight at the keeper.
Okay.
And for me, that is the systematic goal I want to see from United.
Yeah.
Down both wings, and we just don't see it.
Well, you look at City, Sterling, how many goals has he scored where it's like a FIFA cheat? It's like that kind of classic goal where you go and your mate's going, I can't believe you've done it again to me, like the pass back. It would be great if United had some of that about them. And set piece, I've done a piece on set pieces, and you think the amount of corners United get or free kicks and still not to have scored. And I know it's clearly something Solskjaer's thought about.
I got a free before you.
Go on.
Oh, before we get into that, actually, there used to be a cheat on Football Manager 2007, I think, where you get to Fernando Torres. It was before he went to Liverpool, so he was still untarnished. You get him from Atletico Madrid. There used to be a thing that you could do where you put all of your players on the front post, and it would make the computer mark all of your players on the front post, apart from one, in what I'm going to call the Scholesy position, lurking outside the box. And I think Fernando Torres scored 70-something goals for me from that corner. It was outrageous. It was ridiculous. But anyway, here's a freebie for you.
So United should try that, basically. Give it a go.
The last time we scored from a fucking corner was Solskjaer in 26th of May 1999, when Clegg was wearing that. The one that I would like someone to look into, because I can't look into it, but I think this would be interesting for you. Now, what do you know about expected goals?
We've actually just got the access to them from Opta.
Okay, cool. So for everyone who's peripherally aware of, you've probably heard of it, you probably think it's woo. Predictive expected goals is fucking absolute bollocks, but reactive, responsive expected goals literally is the maths of what the chance of you scoring that goal was. Penalties are like 0.77 because 0.77 penalties go in, 0.23 of them get saved. It's literally the maths of does this go in or does this get saved? And someone's done the maths from every single spot. Is there a defender in the way? Is the goalkeeper in the way? Where is everybody else in relation to this ball and this striker at this time? And then it gives it a score. Where Marcus was taking his free kicks from last year, it was about 0.03. 3% chance of him scoring. Stop fucking taking them from there. Where Juan Mata takes them from, 0.18. So he's 4 times more likely to score just from the sheer fact of where he takes them shots from. Now, when you watch United's warm-up, I like to get in the ground a little bit early and I sit there and I watch the warm-up. The very end of the warm-up, they do something which to me is very under 10s. And I don't know why. And I want to know, does City and Liverpool do it? In fact, I'm going to see if Liverpool do it this week. And I'll try and watch them for their warm-up because I'm probably going to be in early enough. What United do, they used to have Emiliano doing it. He's obviously no longer doing it because he's been relieved of his duties. They stand outside the box in what unexpected goals would call probably a 0.03, 0.04, 0.05 at an absolute push shot. And every player just cycles through taking a long shot. Why? Why? And I want to know, does City do that? Or does City maybe for their last little bit of a drill, before they go into the dressing room, do they maybe work a 1, 2, 3 touch pass and put it into that Sterling goal zone? And if they do, then how fucking ridiculous is it that we're doing this? And if you train the way you play, or play the way you train, then surely United would be better by adapting this one fucking drill that I see us do. And it infuriates me because you know what? Even in that warm-up, there's one keeper and no defence, and we probably miss 60% of them. Not even getting them on target. It's outrageous, and De Gea's a pretty good keeper at these, so he saves a lot of them too. It's only if it flies right into the joint, he doesn't save it. We don't score them, so it's not a confidence thing. If it was all flying in, you go, it's confidence booster before they start the game. We fucking miss. And we're not going to, apart from Pereira, we're not going to take them shots. So there's a little freebie for you.
Like that,
have a look into United's expected goals. Have a look into where we take shots from in a game.
Yeah.
Have a look into what other teams do in a warm-up compared to us.
That's 3 articles I've got there. Thanks, cheers. I was thinking, when you mentioned that, I was like, yeah, they always do it. But I've definitely seen other clubs do something similar where they've got a coach there and he sort of lays, it's a 1-2 kind of vibe in it, and he lays it off.
Yeah, he lays it left or right, and then they just run up in it.
I've definitely seen other clubs do it.
Doing that in a game.
Yeah, but remember when Van Gaal was here as well, the warm-up that would finish with, they'd have like 6 or 7 outfield players and they'd go through like a passing drill move and it would be very structured. Obviously that was Van Gaal, wasn't it? You know, this is how you play every time. I want it all sort of manufactured.
Yeah, they'd have like a 5 that would sort of work a ball into the box.
Yeah, and it'd be an open goal and they'd just sort of do these passing moves. So that's obviously him thinking, right, I need to drill this into them so it's become second nature. So it's good point. I've not really twigged on that.
I'm going to try and watch. If anyone's in K-Stand, actually, this is an appeal. Urgent appeal for just £2 a month, right? No, on a serious note, like if this is an urgent appeal, if you're in K-Stand and you get in, do us a favour, film Liverpool's warm-up and send it to me so we can have a look, because I think that there's something in. Because Liverpool's got a very good conversion. Salah not so, but Mane definitely has got a great conversion rate from inside the box. In fact, he only scored from inside the box last season. I think he took like 86% chances from inside the box, which means I think someone's working with him to say, don't waste your fucking time. Why are you shooting out here? You ain't going to score. What's the point? And then I see United doing that, and for me, that is very unintelligent. For the last thing that you do is just these fucking stupid, long, low percentage shots. So I'd love to know if other clubs are doing it or if they've got a systematic approach. Because, like I said, Van Gaal had his own system of what we were trying to do. We struggled breaking teams down under Van Gaal, but we were pretty effective in the big games. So I don't know, maybe something in it.
No, I like it. Food for thought. You give me, that's what I say. You give me ammo for the next couple of weeks now.
Well, I think you've probably got the ability to go and like check it out and see if.
Well, no, we have. Yeah, with the XG, like I say, Opta have sort of given us access to that. I don't think I'm revealing any trade secrets by saying so. 'Cause I know Michael Cox was after them and he sort of managed to get it all sorted. So he's big into all that. I've not really done loads with XG before. Obviously, I know roughly what it is, but it'd be quite fun to have a look around with it. Because I mean, I think people have been saying that United's XG for this season is actually not that bad, considering where they are now. I mean, listen, it's still not great. I think it's something like 11.25 expected goals scored, and City's is like 22. But still, it's more than obviously what United scored. But then I think that's quite reliant on obviously the 4-0 against Chelsea and the penalties. And
the 4-0 against Chelsea, though, which everyone's like, oh, we shouldn't have even won that game. XG had us down as winning that 2-1.
Okay.
So it's closer than it actually was
still a win
in reality, but it would have still been a tight win.
Yeah, I think the penalties though seems to be obviously if it's not 0.77 is it? So that's clearly. So then you've got the Palace game and the Wolves game where, according to that, we would have drawn and what we should have. Really.
Yeah, and that's an important thing to remember when you're looking at XG. If there's been a penalty awarded in that game, you've basically just got a free goal in terms of the XG.
Yeah.
So if you win 2-1 and XG's got you down as a 1-1 draw.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the other team probably, in reality, should have won that 1-0. The penalty has saved your ass, or 2 penalties might have saved your ass. So yes, it'd be interesting to have a breakdown of.
So just quickly, and the defence actually, I think, is probably
it's lower. I think.
Yeah, so it should be the goals that, and to be fair, Solskjaer said this. You know, they've kind of been punished quite a lot for the chance, and really the defence has been pretty all right, to be honest. Which is what I think he basically decided in the summer. That's what I want to get right first. Build from the back, get a solid structure there, and then we can add the creativity later.
Maybe.
Honestly.
Or I think that he might not have had a choice. I think he might have just gone, right, I'd like to fix the defence. And gone, cool. And then he's seen like Herrera, Fellaini, sounds like it was definitely his choice. It was gone so fast. I don't think Solskjaer was like, we'll just let Sanchez and Lukaku and Herrera go. And I'm sure we'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'm 100% certain. I also know that early in the summer, an as yet unnamed person was talking to another unnamed person whose role changed in the summer at the club, and he went, "Holy fuck, mate! They promised him an overhaul, and now they're only going to give him 1 or 2 signings." And I got a lot of shit for saying that at the time, because everyone's like, "Are we only going to sign 1 or 2 players? We're linked with all of these." We signed Wan-Bissaka and Maguire after that. James was already over the line, and we just signed them after that. So it was absolutely fucking bang on. He was promised an overhaul, and then he signed his contract, and he went, psych. And they got whatever they got. And there was also that list went round, I think it was after we'd spoke on it, that he wanted Maddison, Ericsson, Longstaff and Sancho, I think, was the names that he wanted.
So Sancho they definitely looked at quite early on, and I think he just didn't want to come to United in that particular situation.
It's not true.
Oh, really?
No, I almost horsed his mouth.
Yeah.
Because people said Champions League football. It was Dortmund. I don't know what the figure was. I'm assuming 100, 120 million. United, we're not paying that.
No, right.
Which is, you can kind of like almost empathise with. You go, well, that's fucking crazy amount of money.
Crazy money, yeah.
You know, you was never getting him from City anyway. They've just been like, we're not fucking selling him at you. Sling it. When he went for 7 million.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe United thought, you know, if we 10x Dortmund's money, they'd go for it. But they was like, nah, go fuck yourself. We want a bit more. But yeah, that I don't know where that come from about the Champions League football.
I think I know people that have spoken, I think, closely kind of to his people, and they were kind of saying it's not the right environment for him at the moment. He's happy at Dortmund. Maybe could be a bit both. I don't know. Maybe never
Possibly.
really got off the ground much.
I think the latest on it was like he says he don't think it'll happen now.
Right.
Just.
I'm absolutely adamant that Solskjaer would love him in the building.
Oh God.
Yeah, I mean, you would, wouldn't you?
It's a potential future England forward 3.
Yeah.
Greenwood, Rashford, and Sancho.
Yeah.
Potential.
And he would solve predominantly right winger, right? He'd solve that.
Well, he played
issue.
left for City all the way through the academy. Played left wing, and he was frightening coming in and shooting. Whereas being mostly right-footed, I think he's now going round to the byline, and that's why he's getting a lot of assists. But he still has the ability to cut in on his left. And
yeah, so he scored a really good goal for Dortmund. Was it Champions League one with low cutter?
He's scored a few on his left. I think he's pretty good with both feet. But I think he's mostly right. Or well, certainly when I was watching him when he was playing for City. Like, you'd hold your breath when he'd run in against you. Him and that Brahim Diaz, which they lost to Real Madrid, you just go, these are outrageously good players. And both of them, for me, was above Foden. City fans will love to revise the history on all of that lot, but those two was ridiculous.
£500 million Foden.
Yeah, he gets about 4 minutes a week. Stop it. Where do you think we're going to go in the summer? Oh, sorry, in the winter window. Do you think we're going to go anywhere? Because I was talking to someone at a club the other day, and they said, it's always hard to do business in January. And I went, why?
Yeah.
And he didn't really have a lot to answer me back, and he just went, well, people don't really want to sell. I was like, they don't ever want to sell. Like, what's different to that in June?
The difference, I suppose, some people in certain situations would say, well, they don't want their season disrupting, but there's always an opportunity. So, for example, Ericsson, I think they'll probably at least ask the question on Ericsson again, even though he probably wants to go to Real. It's basically, do Real want him, even for a free next summer? They probably would take him on a free next summer, but it's still a little bit uncertain.
When did Real Madrid pick anyone up on a free?
Well, yeah, good point.
Juventus' game, that.
Yeah,
not
they?
necessarily.
Owen was Owen on a free? Yeah, well, we're talking like 20 years ago, pretty much.
They got Steve McManaman in about 96.
Yeah, there we go.
Apart from that, might be the last one they did.
Yeah, they're not exactly Juventus when it comes to the free agent stakes, are they? But I kind of just wonder whether, I mean, Ericsson's been out of the team at Spurs, whether they go, listen, we'll give you 50 million for Ericsson, and it comes to deadline day, and Levy's thinking, actually, I can get some money here for that. Okay, yeah, let's do it.
But look, we're on October the whatever today, right? Why can't we be doing these? Like, it almost feels like United get to the 1st of January and go, right then, should we have a look at the transfer window? Why can't they be having those inquiries and ruling those people out now? Can we sound Ericsson out now? And he'd go, do you know what, I'm open to it, you got to convince them. And we go, okay.
Yeah. I don't know where that is now, but they went deep. At least they felt they went deep in the summer, so they obviously know the general parameters. I think it basically came down to him sort of thinking, I'd rather just sort of say and see how it goes, and then look at Real,
because it's gone totally tits up with Spurs.
Well, that's what I mean.
Potential opportunity.
Yeah. So that's exactly. So United could have a look in that.
That's it. I don't think you need to go and be like, oh, let's get Ronaldo and Sancho and and spend 500 million in the window. I mean, I saw that thing from Sky Sports. United needs 700 million to compete. No, you fucking don't. You absolutely don't. I did a video last week where I went through 5 signings for about 130 million. You know, you're picking Mandzukic up for nothing, essentially.
I think Mandzukic is one that they should. I saw. I think there's a report that Milan are now interested in him as well. So that's a bit of a.
If he wants to stay in Italy, it's an issue, potentially.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's a straightforward one to do, and clearly they got very close to it in the summer. So yeah, but sorry, go on, Mandzukic.
You could probably pick Bale up on a free for similar reasons to why. Does he want to come to United? Maybe. Does he want to stay at Madrid? Definitely not. So is it the lesser of two evils? Does he want to uproot his family for 6 months? That might be an argument against it. But maybe they stay.
Oh, you mean on loan or something?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I don't think I'd pay a fee for him with his injury record and the rest of it. But on loan, high wages, fuck it, why not? You can probably pick up. I don't know if you can go to Leicester after getting rinsed on Maguire, and they're obviously pushing probably for Champions League. Whether or not they get it, I think they're in their heads. They think they're probably capable of getting it. Now they maybe want to strengthen themselves in January. I think if you tried for an Ndidi. Idrissa Gueye, like that would have been a perfect one for us in the summer. I think we needed somebody like that. We just let him Everton get rid of him probably without even inquiring. So I wouldn't mind a Decore and Ndidi, just somebody in that sort of mould, because obviously the mould of that is Kante. Are you getting Kante out of Chelsea? No, you're not. So what's the sensible acquirable option? I think there's loads of players that you could go and get, but that the Manchester United name still is enough that they go, well, I'm leaving to whoever they're at. If United go to a second-tier European team, even to the likes of Benfica, to PSV, to probably your mid-table teams in Spain, Manchester United is still a big enough draw for them to kick off and try and get out the door. I'm certain of that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
And I think the wages that we spend, right or wrong, biggest wage bill in the fucking world by the sounds of things, we can still offer very good wages for players that would be like, that's well worth my while.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying about the January thing and the sort of noises from the club being a bit sort of reticent to go there. I don't quite understand that really. For Vidic and Evra were signed in January, and I know that maybe they didn't make an immediate contribution. It wasn't an immediate effect, but still, if there's a player there that you can get, do it, and then they can bed in, and then they've got a full pre-season. You have to wait around they're there, and then you start the next season.
Because already pre-season disrupted this year because there's the Euros, which means that every player we're interested in should be an international, or what we're doing. Or they're too young to be a full international, maybe. But everyone should be an international. We're going to have the vast majority of our squad go away with internationals or they're injured, which means that anyone who's able to start training the day we start training is either not very good or has been injured. So what are we doing? Like, they go to the Euros, then they go on holiday, and then I think they're actually extending the window again, aren't they, back to the 1st of September next year? Because what an absolute take the piss that was. Which means that now we have a little bit of time as the season starts to get players over the line, but you're still dealing with 3 weeks, 4 weeks to actually get business done. Do it now. It's October start now.
Yeah, it does. It always mystifies me and people within the game that these clubs leave it so late occasionally, to do these deals. Obviously, they're trying to get the best deal, but sometimes pay the money and then you've got them in the door.
Look at Wan-Bissaka and Maguire. We got loads off their asking price, didn't we? No, we didn't. We paid probably what we was going to pay all along.
Around that, I think so.
Waste of time that was. And I mean, okay, they've bedded in pretty well. There's been no issues with either of them. You can blame on how long the deal took.
Yeah.
But start now. Start figuring out what you're going to be doing and actually start getting these guys over the line so we can have a bit of a run at it because... I don't want to hear those same excuses. How people are ringing round on deadline day blows my mind. But it happens, doesn't it? I'd love to be able to go and follow an agent round that's got deals in the pipeline. Be at his house at 6 a.m. and just watch the absolute carnage unfold of that day.
There's sometimes the glamour of it, even for people that have been immersed in it for so long, the kind of buzz of it, it has a grip. So I was told a story about a club who'd basically said, right, we can't afford anyone this window. I think it was January. Just got to keep it. Anyone that we can only buy what we sell, basically. Nothing had been sold, basically. Deadline day, the chief exec comes in, right, are we signing then? It's like, but we can't, we literally can't, you know this. It's like, oh yeah, but come on, it's deadline day. It's crazy, isn't it? And
you're like, are you running our football club?
Yeah.
No wonder in this shit.
Yeah. So... I think it does affect. It's weird. I don't know. It's like trying to think of if you see a sale on on your Instagram or what comes up. ASOS has got 70. Oh, I think I might buy something now. It's always that kind of weird sort of attraction to sort of you think you need to buy something, so let's go for it.
I don't know if you remember when deadline day used to be like the third Thursday in March in the 90s.
Yeah,
there was still a panic for 6 weeks. The window only closed for 6 weeks, and it was always a like, should we get someone in sort of thing. And
this could get us to 7th. Let's do it.
It's insane, isn't it? Like whenever there's a deadline like that, people just panic and react.
I can't really talk though, journalist. The amount of times that I've only started working properly when my deadline's approaching.
Do you think there's what's the word I'm looking for? Oh mate, what is the word I am looking for? A sort of projection of competence that we expect people that are running football because of how much money's involved. We think that people are competent when in reality, a lot of the times there fucking isn't. There's a lot of people who fell into jobs that they should not have, and that's the reason why there's this appearance of competence where people are just like don't have a fucking Scooby-Doo what's going on.
Well, and even competent people in one area then make horrendous decisions in football because they're sort of affected by something else, or they don't understand really how the machinations of football industry can work. So you look at Tony Fernandez, massively successful in his own right, and then comes into QPR and it just becomes a black hole. And he's even admitted that, hasn't he? Like some of the decisions he made there, you do wonder what affects people when they get in that game. But yeah, totally. I think the people are you get some people you talk to, and clearly they're very smart, very intelligent. The clauses that they put in contracts, the way they think about things, you think, right, that is sharp, that really sharp. And obviously the language that are in contracts, you've got to be properly on point on. But then others, you kind of think playing fast and loose with. Sort of, I don't know, the crux of what you needed to do.
And in some positions where you're like, what are you talking about? Are you mad? there was something that just popped in my head. Oh, that was the. I don't think businessmen who've like grafted and wheeler dealered their way into a position of like extreme wealth that they can buy a football club are the best people to then run a football club. I think the people that potentially run football clubs. I mean, I'm not sure if Roman Abramovich is a good example or a bad example in this. He probably falls into both categories in some aspects because he's too hands-on. But he pumps a lot of money in. I think the people that are dreamers that have just got fucking unlimited money, like Sheikh Mansour, he goes, I would like to be the best in the world. And there's a blank check. That's a brilliant way to run a football club. When you go, I don't need this to make me money. Roman Abramovich, where he's gone, I don't need this and it'll come back to me. Just go win shit. That's the way you want to see a football club run or any sporting organisation run. Or you have the Athletic Bilbao model, where they go, here's these self-imposed parameters which are mental and we will work within them. And the fact that they've been in the Champions League is outrageous. But when you have the ones that are doing what the Glazers are doing, when you've got the ones that are like, nope, we have to try and make a profit here. Was it a couple of years ago? 90 out of the 92 clubs don't make a profit every year, and they lose money every year. This is not a business to go into to make money. And I think that too many of the football owners, all the way through the pyramid, and especially in the lower leagues, we was being told about someone in the lower leagues the other week where they was offered sponsorship and was like, nah, don't want it.
Why?
Because they're mental, clearly.
Yeah, I don't know how anyone in the lower leagues can say no to a bit of extra cash.
My father-in-law was involved with Stalybridge Celtic for a long time, and he was like, I told him about it, and he was like flabbergasted. He was like, we would have to get the football card round in the bar, or someone wouldn't get paid. Like it was that tight, and you're like, and these are just turning stuff down, and we're like, and it's like, that's insane. Yeah, no, that is poor. I suppose the only thing I'd say about the City model and I suppose what was the other club you mentioned? Sorry, Chelsea.
Yeah. So obviously there you've got people who are fabulously wealthy who are doing it. Obviously, they want to win and have that success, but there's obviously another bit of a motive in that it looks good. Obviously the whole sports washing thing with City and Abramovich, clearly, again, same kind of vibe, a little bit.
Get in the mix. Let's have a bit of sports washing at United.
You'd go for it, would you? Well,
I think given the two, if I had the option, of having the soul ripped out of us the way the Glazers have done it, or being the plaything of some Saudi Arabian billionaire.
Well, that's the
fucking
option,
bring it on.
I'll hold you to that if it ever
Fucking
happens.
right, you will. Yeah, I'm sure that'll get clipped up to death if it does. But fucking bring it on. I'll cry into my 10th European Cup. Fuck it.
Well, that's it. You wonder, is that the way a club like United is always going to be now? You know, can you have, dare I say it, where Liverpool have got FSG, who seems to be kind of doing it in a pretty okay way.
They didn't like them at first, did they?
Well, Hicks and Gillette, obviously they'd had that experience with them, so maybe there was sort of suspicions about them, and obviously they kind of came in with the whole Moneyball thing, and there was a sort of reaction against that, wasn't there? But clearly over time you've seen that they've appointed sort of good people, and they seem to be pretty decent owners.
Ian Eyre they've got as a chief exec.
Chief exec, it's Michael Edwards as the sort of technical head of recruitment, who actually got pelters at the time, you know, when Rodgers was there, and the whole committee thing, and the Moneyball kind of, you know, thing, the kind of laptop, you know, accusations. Clearly data is a major part of football now, so you kind of have to have someone like that. But
it seems like there was an article last week from someone saying that United are trying to look to do the Moneyball thing. You're like, cool, 6 years after every other club's done it. Sounds about right.
I missed that. I didn't see that.
And you're just like, what are we doing? Like, why are we so fucking behind with this sort of thing?
To be fair, if you like, you know, Woodward, I think would tell you that there is they've overhauled the recruitment system. They're happy with it. They've got massive amount of data. They've got their own bespoke sort of database that sort of looks at thousands of players. So, for example, I think the Wan-Bissaka, I know this was detailed in the press reports, I'm sort of regurgitating here, but, you know, 800, I think, sort of options for right backs, and then it gets whittled down. Ollie obviously gets to say what he wants. So there's a system there that clearly is pulling in massive amounts of data. It's just, does that then translate into the best signings? And
it's
also,
still laughable, though, isn't it? Because you go, we had 800 options for right back,
Yeah.
and we signed the best right back in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Brilliant insight that for 50 million. So if there was 800 options, surely there was probably one that was ballpark as good as Wan-Bissaka.
See, this is
for
what
20 quid.
Yeah, so this is what I want to see. When was the last time you saw United pluck somebody from a little bit of obscurity? Clearly there was some
Solskjaer.
Well, but I mean, I'm even thinking Ronaldo a little bit, in the sense that, okay, we knew he was good after that friendly.
Everybody wanted him.
Well, I think so, yeah. But then you look at it in whatever 30 million was obviously not a lot of money. But I don't know. You look to in recent seasons, Delo, I would say, okay, I didn't really know that much about him before he came. He's looked okay, but he's not really set the world alight, as he sort of seems a bit of a utility player almost at the moment. Fred, obviously. Again, I think you could, if he'd come for 20 million, you might have put him in that bracket. I don't know, it's difficult to say.
52 million? Like, that's not an unknown, unheard of.
That's a big statement.
Yeah.
He needs to be ready. He's going to be a game changer for us, and he just hasn't been, has he?
No, if you're right, if Fred was a £10 million, 20, even 20 nowadays, I guess, you'd have been like, but I don't even know if you would be impressed with him still. You'd still be like, what does he do? Like, I think, if you're telling me there's 800 options for right back, but none of them was on a free. Okay, there might have been 800 options, and there's clearly going to be a hierarchy in that list. But I can't believe, like, Kante and Mahrez as the ultimate examples of bargain finds, lower level in France. That is genius recruitment.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When was the last
Where's
time
that?
United? Yeah. And I know it's different for United, because I suppose the levels of talent that you want is going to be higher. But actually now they're probably at a level where, you know, if they went and signed a Kante for 5 million, you'd go, okay, right, let's.
What's 5 million? We're paying that in agents' fees.
Yeah.
More than that in agents' fees.
Yeah.
There's no risk.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no risk in us going finding that. And if the recruitment side of things is good enough, you can spot those players. I don't think there's a lot of difference between Championship and a lot of the Prem. Like, you see it yourself when players come up into the Championship. Like, look at Mason Mount. You watched him in the Championship last season, you go, he's a decent player. He's in the Premier League, you go, he's a fucking decent player. Like, what did the Championship mean to that? You know, you see Axel Tuanzebe did really well for Villa, and you go, looks like a decent player. Playing in the Premier League, looks like a decent player. Where's the difference?
Yeah.
It's not like you're talking pure rocket science here to just like knocking it around in a park.
Look at Dan James. I mean, I was one that doubted that could have the potential that it has done, but fair play to him for coming in and sort of making his mark. But yeah, again, looked a good player in the Championship, and actually, okay, he looks a good player in the Premier League. I'm not saying that you can go to the Championship all the time and basically build your squad from that, because obviously that isn't a great way to do it. But clearly, there's players in that tier that you could actually bring on.
And you're always going to need experience, and you're always going to need players that have experienced stuff at the highest level and maybe are a bit of a leader around there. But when you look at how threadbare our squad is, that's why some of the academy players have been given an opportunity, because they're not worse than the options we've got. And that's why they're getting games. If you can go to, you're telling me there's no one in like the Algerian Premier League that's an absolute baller, because I bet there is. I know there was always like, do you remember Mohamed Zidane?
That's
what the biggest YouTube player you've ever seen in your life. Someone picked him up, like a Leon or something. I can't remember who it was. Maybe was it one of the Portuguese teams? Somebody picked him up and he was shite. No, it's German. Was it Bremen? Might have been Bremen. He was dog poo, but he looked amazing on YouTube. Now you can't go just signing YouTube players, but I know United have got like 50 full-time worldwide scouts, and that actually doesn't even scratch the surface, because all of those scouts will have a network of probably 20 of mates and acquaintances that are feeding them information all the time. It will be on like a little bit of a commission for anybody that they find. But like you said, United aren't finding rough gems, hidden diamonds. We signed Harry Maguire for 80 million, and Wan-Bissaka was, one of the best centre-halves in the Premier League and one of the best right-backs in the Premier League. We cast a fucking right net there, didn't we?
I think with those two particularly, I think Solskjaer probably was like, I know pretty much who
Safe
I want,
bets.
and then it came that they were also came through this sort of system. So, I don't mind that, but I just want more. I just want more, like, it needed 4 or 5 signings. Well, it needed 5 really. It needed 2 more.
It's not about the money, but it is about the number of players.
Yeah.
Like I said, I put together 5 signings for about 100 and something million.
Yeah.
Or you can just go and sign Sancho and he's going to cost you 100 and something million.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to improve the squad? Do you want to improve right wing?
Yeah.
And I think that United could easily, if this recruitment tool is good enough, and someone at the club explained to me how the whole recruitment system worked, and potentially why Jose saw his arse last summer, which is they'd agreed they didn't need a centre-half.
Yeah.
Laughable. But apparently everybody had agreed that they didn't need a centre-half. Then halfway through pre-season, Jose flips a table and goes, I want Yerry Mina. And they was like, what? Where's this come from? And he was like, I want Yerry Mina and I think it might have been Alderweireld, the other one. And the analysts didn't agree. And he said, the guy at the club said there's a sign-off from the analysts. So the analysts are the ones who do the video scouting and the stats side of scouting. You have your old-school scouts. They've got a veto. Scouts have got a veto. The management team, which is the manager and assistant manager, they have a veto. And then Matt Judge and Ed Woodward are another one. So anyone in that chain can say no. And the analyst said no on Yerry Mina and potentially on Alderweireld as well.
I think Boateng might have been one as well, but
yeah, it might have been actually. Yeah.
I think the club would they slightly disagree with Woodward and Judge having any veto. They would. I think the club would argue that they just go and then do the deal. So like they basically take the lead. And if, as happened last summer with Mourinho, the recruitment side say no to what the manager wants, that's when Woodward gets involved and tells the manager. So he's obviously the guy that says to Jose.
I think their veto, Woodward and Judge's veto, is probably like
financial.
when they phone the club up and go, it's going to be 400 million, and they go, we're not doing that. Because that's probably happened.
Yeah.
We probably have like rang up Bayern and asked for Lewandowski, and they laughed and was like, how much is your debt currently? Yeah, that much. That's how much we want. Yeah, and we just went, we're not getting that. So that's, you're probably right. That is probably their veto. Or they get past that stage, and the player goes, I want like a pony and a plane, and they were like, we're not doing that. So yeah, you're right. Their veto probably is financial, and
everyone else's a football decision. Yeah,
which is what it should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Which makes a lot of sense. Now, apparently, that was the spark which made Jose absolutely lose his shit and just become very unpleasant to work with, and that just, I was going to say slowly unravelled, but it fucking quickly unravelled, didn't it, really? Yeah. Causing his sacking last Christmas.
Yeah.
I don't know the process of any of this over the summer. I guess it'll come out in the wash.
Maybe this summer. Yeah. I think that Solskjaer wanted, I'm pretty sure Solskjaer wanted Maguire in suit just pretty much straight away. Wan-Bissaka and James, obviously they got James done. It was a fairly straightforward one to do. Wan-Bissaka took a little bit long, but again, sort of fairly soon. Maguire should have just been a bit sooner, and then you could have turned your attention to, right, okay, who we're going to do for centre mid or striker.
I think sales probably were affecting recruitment.
Yeah.
Especially because, if it's right that we have got the highest wage bill in the country, and I'm sure it's not far off, even if it's not 100% accurate. If we did have the highest wage bill in the country, then you can actually sympathise with Woodward and the Glazers by saying, you got to cut this wage bill before we bring anyone else in, especially a top-tier first-team player. Like if we had have wanted a Sancho or an Eriksen, they're going to want $250,000 a week sort of bracket. And you can understand them going, well, you're not going to have Lukaku on the bench getting paid that for us to bring this guy in. So if you want that, you're going to have to shift him. And that deal didn't get done until the window was closed. So they go, no, and you can still blame that on Woodward, not getting it done fast enough, but you've also, this takes two to tango, and if Inter was slowing it up.
I do have sympathy in that sense. You can't make a team bid, can you? You can't make... and to be fair, I think their first offer was obviously like a low ball offer, and then Woodward kind of used the interest from Juventus, the Dybala and Mandzukic to bring them to the table and sort of raise it up a bit, and eventually, Lukaku obviously wanted to go and play for Conte, didn't he? I think he wanted to try that first, when Mourinho managed to swoop in and send him away from Stamford Bridge. But so I do have sympathy in that sense. You can't make a team bid, but I don't know, I just feel like maybe just more haste. You knew it was going to be a big summer, and as you said, if he was promised an overhaul, then you knew this was a key. But early summer, few weeks,
the word was that he weren't getting it anyway.
So by that point, he'd sort of know, right?
Because as soon as Maguire and Wan-Bissaka was in, there was only the Bruno Fernandes talk, which I think we've already discussed.
The club were consistently saying, no to that.
In it.
Yeah,
there was absolutely nothing in it. So I don't know where that came from, apart from Portuguese press was getting it.
Yeah,
but, we weren't in for him.
Yeah,
so, sorry.
Down
whether or not we should have been, but we weren't.
Yeah, no, well, I think the Eriksen one, obviously Longstaff. Yeah, a bit more.
I think there probably was something in Longstaff, and when they said 50 mil, they went, "Oh fuck off!
Yeah,
I'm not paying that."
Yeah, I think there was still talks. I thought there were talks up until sort of deadline week, and Newcastle were just adamant.
50 mil. Stop it. Righty, I'm going to wrap it up there. But thank you again for joining us, Laurie. Go and check out his work on The Athletic, and you can get, like I said, a discount on there. It's theathletic.co.uk/Howson. Get a month's free trial and 50% off your yearly subscription. That's theathletic.co.uk/Howson, and that's 50% off and a month's free trial. It's a month's free trial. Go and check it out. And there's some genuinely good writing on there. And I reckon in about 2 weeks, it's probably going to be an article on expected goals and United's warm-ups, which I'm definitely going to get a credit for right at the bottom of the article.
I might quote you.
Yeah, well, there you go. Sweet. Right, thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Laters.